Welcome back. I'm Michael Ray. You're listening to Thought-Provoking Talk on Dresser After Dark. Elaine Seiler with us, the author of Multidimensional You, Exploring Energetic Evolution, and your multidimensional workbook, Exercises for Energetic Awakening. Listen to that word, energetic awakening. A pioneer in the field of transformation energetics, Elaine's worked with the energies of the unseen realms, the vibrations present beyond the five senses, building on 30 years of experience in career consulting, life planning, holistic health, and sustainable development. She focuses on her energetic work facilitating the transformation and evolution of the planet and all her beings. And let us say, Elaine, hi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. A pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you so much for being a multidimensional you. Most people think they're in this linear world and there's only a piece of them and that's all they have to work with. Obviously, there's more than meets the eye here, isn't there?
Most definitely. My belief is that there is lots going on that we don't see, but that we sense, even though we're not really aware that we're sensing it. So you know that wonderful space between you and I, it's filled with energies, and those energies give us information.
Now, by the way, when we talk about energy, now energy this is a question now. Energy comes through vibration, doesn't it?
Correct.
Okay, now, in a prime example of that, if somebody doesn't believe that what you're saying exists, very simple. I see you, and we're in a nightclub, and I walk over and I say, would you like to dance? And it's a slow dance. And all of a sudden, you get caught up with the music. The vibration from the sound of the music has an effect on your body, and you feel completely different. And if that can happen, why can't it happen in every other area of your life?
Well, I think it can and it does.
Yeah.
And your example is an interesting one, Michael. The one that I like to give is you're going to dinner at a very good friend's house. You've been there many, many times, and you love going to visit them. This particular evening when you get there, it feels awful. You want to go home. You don't know why. You don't understand why you're not comfortable because you've always been comfortable in their house before. You manage to get through the evening, and the next morning when you speak to your friend, you discover that she and her husband have just had a terrible argument. And the energy of that anger and resentment or whatever was going on between them, it becomes as real and as palpable as the computer or the microphone that you're holding in your hand.
Sure.
And we feel it even though we don't quite understand how.
No question about it. And it's that energy, that, and I'm not a clinician here, but it's that energy that propels us to do what we do. If it's on the dance floor and you feel just, or maybe there's your favorite song, the minute it comes up, you can feel an entire change in your body and your emotions and your mind. And it's the same thing as you're saying. You walk into a place, does not feel good. You're experiencing it. And I would imagine, Elaine, that we're actually part of it. Because if we weren't part of it, we couldn't feel it.
Well, we are part of it because we also, let's put it this way, everything is made up of vibration. You and I, the radio station, the dance floor, the music on the dance floor. We think of music as vibration and we think of that more easily, but what about the table that you're sitting at or the chair? It's actually also energy, but the energy is going so rapidly that we don't see it move. And we've all agreed that it's solid, even though actually it's moving vibration.
Yeah.
And that's kind of hard for some people to accept.
Okay, now let me ask you this. Let's take you all the way back. When did this first start with you? When did that light bulb go on for you to realize that there was so much more than what most people see?
It began to happen in the early 90s. And when I was experiencing things that I tried to explain rationally, but I couldn't. And the linear mind just, the normal everyday explanations just wouldn't work. And so I began to look further. And that's when I looked towards the vibrations and began to understand that I was being affected by people and places energetically, even though I couldn't see those energies.
Now, by the way, it's in seeing and feeling are obviously two different things, but it's an experience, it's a feeling. Now, I'm not well versed in this. I know a little bit about it, but it's limited. But at the same time, it's a feeling. It's that something you experience, it's something you feel. You can't quite put a word to it. If you take the word science, science means it's provable. So this goes beyond science. You don't have to prove it. You know it's there.
Correct. And I believe that in time, we will begin to have scientific proof for it. But right now, we can't prove all of it. There are two very interesting examples, though, for people to look at if they want more visual proof. There's a wonderful book by a Japanese professor by the name of Emoto, and he discovered how to take a flash photograph of water molecules, and they became actual crystals. They're very, very beautiful photographs of water crystals. Are you familiar with this at all?
No.
Okay, well, the book is worth looking at, and the thing that became interesting was that he did experiments, and he would say positive words or prayers or blessings or meditate near particular bodies of water, and the water crystal would change. He could take a picture of very beautiful, clear water, and it would show up as an absolutely beautiful crystal. He would take a picture of polluted water, and it would become an ugly photograph, believe it or not. And then he would bless that water crystal, that body of water, and take another picture. And after the blessing or the statement of positive words, the picture would change, and the photograph of water molecules from that very same source of water would become harmonious, balanced, and very beautiful.
Now,
I think in time we are going to see demonstrations, but right now some of us feel it more than others. But everybody's capable of feeling it. And when I say feeling it, I'm talking sense feel. I don't mean feel with your hands.
Sure. And now, by the way, when we're dealing with this, when people are energy workers, quote unquote, is this something that comes naturally to them? This something that someone has to study? How does it come about?
I think that it's both. I think for some people it comes very naturally and they discover that they're doing it. I think there are other people who can learn to do it and can learn to be aware that they're doing it. And in my book, I talk a lot about the different ways that people do energy work. And I go through it in quite a bit of detail so that people can begin to become aware of their own pattern of how they might be an energy worker. And I talk about it as awakening the your own inner energy worker. I feel we all are capable of it.
Now, by the way, when somebody decides to do this, how do they come by it? And when I say that, it's like people who are addicted to drugs and alcohol, et cetera. They have to go all the way down to the bottom before they realize that they need some help someplace. To become an energy worker, to really understand the energetic evolution, as you call it, what does a person have to do? Do they just have to be opened up? Do they have to get smacked in the nose, quote unquote, one day to realize that there's more to life than they think?
I don't know that there's a formulaic response. I think that it can happen any number of ways. Some people might have an extreme experience, a near-death experience or something of that ilk, and others may just wake up one day and suddenly become aware of things that they were never aware of before. I think right now, possibly people in your audience are listening and thinking, I'm more aware than I was a year ago. I'm actually more aware than I was 2 months ago. And that's part of the evolutionary process that I think is occurring, is it's an awakening. We are waking up to the reality that there is so much more to life than we have thought up to now, that our three-dimensional perception or perspective, which was based strictly on the five senses, is very limited. And what's happening is we are now awakening to a perspective that's much more expansive than that and includes the reality beyond those limited five senses.
Now, by the way, when we're dealing with this, and I think it's important to take a look at, it's not just from person to person. You're talking about something globally. And if the Earth in and of itself has that vibrational that vibrational impact on what's going on, look at what's going on with all of the different countries today. Look at the mindsets. Look at the changes in the dynamic of the way people are thinking now. And I think it's also showing up in what's going on with the planet. I mean, there's more tidal waves, there's more of this, there's more of that going on. And it's an awakening, and I think it's an awakening that moves through every phase and facet of life. And if you're not aware of it, you're going to get lost in it.
Exactly. No, it is definitely global. It is planetary. It is on every level in every aspect of our society. One of the most interesting reflections of it is that the Occupy Wall Street movement, which spread from New York all across the globe. And I see that as partially as humanity's awakening to the changes and not quite knowing how to cope with it. So here you have people becoming so disturbed, properly so, but disturbed by what's going on around them, that they are gathering and willing to take to the streets. So they're saying, change has to come. We don't understand how we're going to get it, but we're willing to go out and stand up and be counted as wanting it. And the other part of the Occupy Wall Street movement that's really interesting is that it reflects a movement away from individuality towards cooperation and towards unity. We are all one people. We share that vibrational field. What happens to you also affects me, and across vast distances, that's true. And so here you have people from one end of the planet to the other who are all similarly reflecting their discontent.
And I think
go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say the biggest problem with that is, I'm going to say, yes, there is a discontent. Yes, there are people that are standing up and saying that things have to change. The problem is the way that it's being done. And I don't think that in any kind of a vibrational realm or world is what the end result should be. You've got, if you really watch what's going on, it's out of control and it's out of whack. And if you ask most of these kids why they're there, they have no idea why they're there. I really believe once it catches, if they would sit down and find out what it is that's catching on to them and then focus in one particular way, that would work. But the way that it's going now, it's basically diluting the original concept of why to do it in the first place.
That may be so. I think that we really don't, the mass don't really know how to go about creating the change. I think for me, the important aspect is that traditionally we would view this movement politically or economically or socially. And what I'm doing is viewing it energetically.
And I hear it loud and clear.
And so,
yeah, by the way, Elaine, I hate to do that. We're just starting to run out of time now. So is there a website where, and by the way, this had nothing to do with the Wall Street kids. It's just the timing of it. Is there a website we can find you, find the book, find out what you're doing, and buy the book?
Absolutely. The website is multidimensionalu.com, which is also the name of the book. And if you go on there, you'll learn more about the multidimensional world, more about the books, more about my work. And please, when you go on that website, also sign up to be counted as a multidimensional person, a multidimensional being. And when you go on, you'll understand. There's a count up page there that's self-explanatory.
Elaine, hey, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. A pleasure.
Take care. Good night.
Good night.
When I'm gone away, you're gonna feel lonely.